Hello, everyone. I have a great but difficult task, wrapping up the past 2 days before you get to enjoy some drinks. Now brace yourself, because the next 30 minutes will be rather dense. If you like to follow the transcript, it's already online at the following URL, else you can listen to me. In July 1989, I was 8 years old. It was summer holidays and I was reading a magazine for kids, about science. And, well, when you're 8 years old, the amount of universe you're aware of is limited to about 10 kilometers around you, basically where your parents take you. School, the house, and everything. Suddenly, this magazine was telling me that the world around me was potentially limitless. It was unknown and gigantic. I spent a few days being quite overwhelmed by this discovery, because it was both daunting and fascinating at the same time. My parents are baby boomers, so they lived their youth in the 60s. They experienced a world without unemployment, lucky them, where everything was developing very fast, and from vital infrastructures to individually packaged foods. Jobs were for life back then, and today cars are everywhere. We design cities around them. They are social status, a symbol of freedom. And yeah, gas will never run out, right? Everything is growing exponentially. Concrete, supermarket, buildings, stock option portfolios, lights are always on, there's advertisement everywhere. We live in an era of hyper-consumption, hyper-capitalism, and hyper-productivity. In some areas of the world, there is no unpackaged nor unprocessed food. Often, there is no other option in stores. Going to the supermarket is normality. We live as if they were natural to our ecosystem. Natural, yet vital. It's all a world of numbers. No company is allowed to stop growing. And the only way to succeed today is a 2-digit profit growth. In this world of exponential growth, I became a designer. The notion of abundance was natural to me, and I unconsciously incorporated it into my practice, placing human beings and profit as the two obvious focal points. From day one, I bought into the idea that to exist, you had to contribute to this global growth. I started my career feeding into the limitless system and not questioning it, designing the near future. A future of automation, transportation, contextual information. A future where all your worries disappear behind a beautiful screen, embedded into a non-polluting vehicle which already knows where you're going. A future without disease, with clean interfaces, travel and world peace, when you can have food delivered to your current location and pay for everything cashless with your fingerprint. We are told that beautiful tech will save the world. As designer and Professor James Auger says, design has already been feeding a lot of the possible futures. Yet, we have no idea if what we really foresaw is still doable, like flying cars, or simply good. So on February 7th this year, at Interaction 18, Anab Jain from Studio Superflux gave a talk called More Than Human-Centered Design. Through her practice of speculative design, she invited us to widen our perspective to just ourselves. Anab told us the story of the jellyfish, which on an evolutionary level would actually outlive us right now. Humanity is less resilient than jellyfish. Jellyfish don't rely on the supply chain of trucks and planes to fill their fridges. They don't rely on the electricity grid fed by power plants to survive through winter. Damn it, they don't even have the internet. So following Interaction 18, I met for coffee with my former graphic design teacher, and I told him about the talk I just saw and how it confirmed what I was already realizing in the background about the world and our future. He told me about this book. In 1968, a group of scientists, economists, political leaders and diplomats from around the world met in Italy, in Rome, because they were joined by a common concern about the future of humanity. A few years later, they published The Limits to Growth, a study of interactions between humans and Earth. The results were not really filled with hope. They created a model gathering variables like population, food production, industrialization, pollution, and available resources. They ran simulations, altering the parameters each time to see which would sustain the current activity. All but one led to the same scenario. If humanity continues on our path of insatiable progress, our society will collapse in the midst of the 21st century, leading to severe depletion of resources and a massive population decline. The scenario that did not lead to a collapse required that we drastically change the course of this progress, which, as you can imagine, did not happen. This was in the 70s. 30 years later, they published an update to the book showing that, well, their predictions were confirmed by the figures we can find today. One of the authors of this report, Professor Dennis Meadows, he said in 1972 that the notion of sustainable development was already outdated and hopeless. Nice. But if we put it into perspective, it is not the first society collapse in human history. The Roman Empire did collapse. The Mayan civilization, Mesopotamians, the Easter Islanders, they were all technically very advanced and powerful societies. But the question is, can a society like ours collapse? The reasons why an advanced society can collapse can be very different. For instance, studies show that the Easter Island inhabitants disappeared mainly because of deforestation, which triggered chain reactions, making the island unfit for human life. 3 scientists have laid out a model called HANDY, Human and Nature Dynamics, to further study these collapses. They found 2 common points to all of them. Stratified societies with high disparities between the rich and the poor, and incapacity or unwillingness of elites to see the problem and act. Does that ring a bell? I think it looks like today. This is why this wise thought came to me. I might as well tell you that everything we talked about during the past 2 days is utterly useless. It's over, people. It's over. Like no more smart fridges, no more pull requests. Jellyfish are coming to get us. Or, well, better said, some people will survive. The world will be made of an old, ignorant sociopath on top of a tower and billions of jellyfish. Cool? We humans are quite bad at seeing the elephant in the room. We are still waiting for a miracle. The thing is, while we're talking about miracles, maybe we should, revert back to good old science and get our hands dirty. In fact, we have lost track of energy, how we use it, and what it does for us. This is Olympic cyclist Robert Forsterman. His thighs are basically bigger than my waist. Right now, on this little piece of video, he will cycle to toast a slice of bread. Just a slice of bread. As you can see, he's going at an insane speed. This is basically the speed of a car. And yeah, the guy is pushing quite a lot. So now, just imagine how many people like him you would need to power, a kettle twice a day, or any of your devices. The thing is, in 2 minutes of cycling, he's very tired afterwards, he produced the equivalent of 0.021 kilowatt hour. This 0.021 kilowatt hour is the amount of energy you need to power your computer for 20 minutes. Can you imagine a world where you have only a few hours of electricity a day and you have to pedal to get your devices going? The only reason why we can sustain our current lifestyle is because Earth has gifted us with the most beautiful and powerful resource ever: oil. We didn't even have to make it. Today, oil powers 100% of airplanes, boats and trucks, and 80% of cars. We use 1,000 barrels of oil per second. 1,000. This is basic math. This is the Herbert, I can't remember the name, damn it. Well, there is no controversy about this model. Any finite resource of any kind meets a point where you use it, its utilization will diminish until it is depleted. It's the same with a box of cookies, and it's the same with oil. Some optimistic people say we are around there regarding oil, but the Club of Rome and many other scientists and economists think that we are here, maybe. You will tell me, but what about all the renewables, and what about all the solar energy and all the wind turbines? And nope. If you have a look at this graph, renewable energies are in pink. Can you see the pink? It's on top of all the rest. Today we are far from being able to replace all the fuels and the coal or nuclear. We have no replacement for nuclear power. In fact, our current comfort is the result of an unsustainable exploitation of a natural resource that is today irreplaceable and would take thousands and thousands of years to be remade by Earth. Meaning that, but you knew that already, right? Another thing that has no substitute ever, there's none, metals. We better find a solution, because those software updates that make your phone go slower and obsolescence and everything, because soon anyway Apple won't be able to build any new units of iPhones. They just won't. And we are talking about 20 to 30 years from now. Look, it's not our kids or the grandkids, it's us. It is us and our beautiful technology. This is a picture for mitigation of shock. It is a fantastic and very kinesthetic project. It's a dive into a hostile world of 2050. It's Studio Superflux. Imagine a home where you grow your own crops indoors, you farm your own edible insects, and where your smart fridge keeps telling you you need milk, but there's none in a supermarket. The thing is, oil doesn't need to disappear to create problems. We live in a capitalist world, and if all corporations have more trouble extracting the oil, they will just sell it for a higher price. We are not far away from a world where a liter of petrol will cost several euros or more. And before tornadoes roam the earth, our current climate will simply become harsher. Intense rains, stronger winds, warmer heat waves. Same thing for pollution. Pollution and climate will mess with culture enough so that most crops won't grow very well. We would have to find new ways of feeding ourselves and to cultivate produce at home. Right. That's quite heavy, so I've put a bit of fluff to, just... This is Masha. She's super cute. You can follow her on Instagram. She's just... she makes the world a better place. Okay, as humans, all of us, we design things with waste built in. To me, so it's the concept of externality. Externality is the result of a narrow and lazy design process. Mostly, we willingly ignore the consequences of our acts, either because we don't want to see what is going to happen or because we have not been told. Every morning, quote, a garbage truck takes my trash away. There is no away. What's behind that? We have to question these non-answers. What do you think we will do with all the waste caused by old solar panels? We don't know. We'll just pass it on to the next generation, and this is bullshit. Designer Alan Cooper outlined that externalities are those things that affect us or we affect that are pushed out of our attention, whether by force, neglect, or influence. As you can see on the left, it's all the numbers growing exponentially in tourism, telecommunications, transportation, and GDP. We did not see the externalities growing at the same time. On the right, you have, at the same time, ocean acidification, tropical forest loss, or peak of carbon dioxide. It's not very funny. Which brings us to the topic of legacy. All the externalities that we create, we will not be able to erase them all. This beautiful building, gorgeous, can be found in the city of Lyon, where I live currently. It used to be one of the most innovative, yet criticized, urban hubs. It connects a train station, a bus station, a parking space, a motorway in one central building. Although it literally splits the city center into two parts, but never mind, the superstructure was built by removing huge amounts of groundwater. The weight of the structure today actually keeps the water buried. If we were to remove the superstructure, the water will come and drown the area. Nice. We can't remove it. Luckily, this building has no nuclear core. Some others buildings have a nuclear core, and we don't know what we're going to do with them in several centuries. There are some people today that are currently working on developing a language that would be understandable either after several centuries or after multiple civilizational changes, so that we can label abandoned nuclear plants as dangerous and maybe, I don't know, apologize to future people. Alan Cooper said, he introduced the concept of being a good ancestor. We should think about the consequences of what we put into the world and start to outline what could go wrong, you know, in the short or the longer span. This quick video will show you, if it does show, how much we produced of CO2 since the 1860s. Oh no, even 70s, 60s. Okay, cool. So not very much happening right now. We are at the beginning of the 18th century. Oh, Britain is starting to peak. Yeah, it's slightly orange. There you go, Industrial Revolution. Yay! Note that carbon is quite a stable thing. So everything we ever produce, it will take ages to disappear or to degrade. When I mean ages, it means dozens of centuries to even start to degrade. So everything we produced here, look at the US, it's amazing, is here to stay for a long time. Beginning of the 19th century, oh yeah, 1981, woo, wonderful, oh, look at this, China, Australia, South America, Brazil, oh, it's beautiful. This is 2014. This is the total of carbon we produced. It's just wonderful. Scientists have a name for what is happening. It's called Anthropocene. It's an era following the Holocene, which was pretty cool, quite stable. So this new era is quite unknown to us because the parameters, well, we never seen them before. Our activity, the human activity, has modified our environment so much that the amount of CO2 we produced right now, until now, during the 2 last centuries, is enough to give us +2 degrees rise in global temperature. This means that in the next 80 years, bye-bye Netherlands. It's just this, and it's going to happen now. You will think about me in a few decades. Okay, ooh, Fluff, she's nice. Look at the little tie. Isn't it cute? You know, animals are the best to make us forget about the crappiness of our lives. We're all designers, all of us. From the moment we code, we draw, we write, we publish, upload anything that anybody can use, we are responsible for the existence of what we put into the world. We have a responsibility that comes with it. We have a mission, a duty to question things. Just an example, electric cars were built and the very principle of the car wasn't even questioned. Why? In a paradigm with infinite energy, well, you just build roads and you get rubber tires and it's fine. There's a massive loss of energy with 4 tires and rubber. You don't mind with infinite oil. But usually, well, if you think with a paradigm of scarce energy, you would think twice about the amount of wheels and the very material of your rubber tires. Now we're going to talk about design, because we need to change the way we build things globally. I tried to wrap up 4 big principles of what we should do right now to make the world a less crappy place, because it's going to be crappy. So when I talk about prosperity, I want to make a point about this. I'm not talking about the act of gathering as much wealth as you can, but rather a state of happiness where our needs are satisfied and not more, not exceeded. We need to define the needs first and then scale the profits down to those needs. We would save a lot of resource just by doing this and acknowledging that we've had enough. Anyway, first thing, so it's prosperity. We need to design things that scale to a real need. We need to study it, to quantify it, and we define how it is met. We need money to be just a happy side effect of good design. It should not be your driving purpose in an ideal world. Of course, we should measure success not on not on figures and numbers, but rather on human, natural and social impact, on the impact we made. Resilience is the act of a system to be able to survive and to absorb all the shocks and all the changes. So we should create artifacts, meaning project, object, whatever you want, with little to no externalities. We have to create and rely on decentralized systems only. I'm looking at you, Facebook, Google, etc. We need to treat any resource as finite and precious. And we need to aim for the longest use life and plan artifacts' obsolescence and make it known to users, known to people. Dignity. We want to create artifacts which respect their future owners and users, allow them to be respected too by being durable and repairable. You won't respect an object that has a lifespan so short that you just have to throw it away when you don't know what to do with it. We have to create with restoring the dignity of all living beings in mind, not just us, all the living beings. We have to create organizations which ensure equal power, equal voice, a decent living wage, and good conditions to their contributors. No more gig economy, seriously. Circularity. Create artifacts and systems whose waste and afterlife can be incorporated in a cycle. Plan those life cycles accordingly. There's many things to do with recycling, not just in physical world, in tech too. We have to create things that are interconnected, interoperable, reusable, and understandable, that people need to understand what's happening with our products. We need to design with respect of the natural ecosystem in which our artifacts will exist. We never do that. We never envision the global ecosystem of what we do. Little example, designer James Auger built this beautiful artifact. It's a lamp powered by gravity. It's wonderful. You just need to look at it to understand how it works. The light bulb is actually the weight powering the lamp. You just put it up, moves back, and along with it, it just powers the lamp itself. You are shown how much energy is left and how much you've consumed. This is a perfect example of respectful, gridless, and clever design. Your house could be powered by electricity without being plugged to a grid. It's wonderful. In the 70s, there's a French couple. They decided to design their autonomous lifestyle, so they built a house. They set to use few energy, but enough energy. And they invite us to do the same and assess our real needs. They share their knowledge since more than 40 years now, and the wind turbine that you see here did its job for 20 years. This wind turbine in picture is more durable than a car. So it's all designed by normal people. You can find the plans on the internet. Just find someone with a thing here, and you're set. So one of the builders of this house, Patrick Baronnet, says, what is political action? Is it the act of demonstrating in the streets, or the act of bypassing the grid and organizing individually and interdependently? The grid obliterates many simple, affordable solutions which are under our control. If we can control things, if we can understand how they work, isn't it just the best thing to do? The grid, again, can be Facebook, Google, centralized servers, whatever you call it. In tech, forget about your smart Wi-Fi toothpick project, please. It means that if we want to apply those 4 principles to whatever we build, few ideas, we can rely on open systems rather than centralized silos. We can inform the users openly and truthfully about what's going to happen and not think they are stupid and we know better than them. We can open source the code, we can self-host the projects, we can mentor other people to become developers or designers. That's a good start. It's also up to you to find your thing with those principles. And I want to wrap everything now. So I've told you that the world is going to be really crappy and it's not going to get better, apparently, whatever we do. I told you that we can apply 4 principles to make things a bit different, a bit better, and a bit aware of what's going to happen. Now I want to show you 7 things we should do. So, acknowledge mutations. Things are not okay. The world is crap, and we can't afford to wait. That's certain. But if we don't acknowledge that, by pretending there is no elephant in the room, we forbid ourselves to move forward with this and have hands-on solutions. We cannot afford to wait for electoral mandates for things to change. We can't do that. We have to change them by ourselves. We have to start designing like it was already tomorrow, a crappy future, and not today. Change metrics and assumptions. So sustainable development is said by many scientists to be an oxymoron. It is just not possible to develop and be sustainable at the same time. Some people even say that we should just stop innovating and start descaling whatever we do. But whatever. First, we should change the way we define success and prosperity. I think success is not the infinite growth, but prosperity for everyone. The metrics of success, short-term profit is not a sign of success, neither GDP being a good metric to a country's wealth. Growth cannot be infinite. Our physical world has tangible limits, so should our growth. And there's also a good thing, we should try to treat objects as we treat ourselves. There's a mountain in Australia, the Ayers Rock, Mountain Uluru, which has been given rights as an inanimate thing, just because tourism was killing it, and the people decided that it should have the same rights to be preserved as an existing thing, even if it was very profitable. Create precedents. We have to show it's possible. If things exist, no one can deny them. If they work, they can be spread. We have to try, to build, to test, and to prove. We are talking about something that can't yet be experienced with our five senses. People need kinesthetic artifacts, like mitigation of shock, for instance, to understand and acknowledge the problems. We have to make it political again. We must acknowledge, all of us, that we are on the top layers of the power system. We can't ignore that. When society will collapse, the first in line will be the poorest. We have to restore society by destroying the stratums, and to avoid that we have richer and poorer. Alan Cooper says we have to legislate around desired outcomes and not mechanisms. We have to be aware of scapegoats, because minorities are our elite's favorite scapegoats, but they are not our enemies, and the real enemy is ourselves. And stubborn elites, of course. Elites, sorry. So yeah, a couple of other things. We need to make poverty illegal. Thank you, Mike Montero. And global warming is not a symptom. It's a symptom. Sorry, it's not a cause. We have to make sure that elites, face their duties. Okay, and we have also to share knowledge and methods. One of the symptoms, if you remember, of a collapsing society can be the hyper-specialization. Less and less people able to do random things like build a wind turbine or just understand how a motor is made. James Auger, designer, says we need to be participants to the systems. If we lose the basic making skills, we are lost in front of a device. Reverse engineer stuff, I don't know, like vacuum cleaners or simple systems for a start. And then share your knowledge and make it accessible to people in the world. We have to preserve the commons. We have to fight for them so they remain intact and open. Yep, share the problem. We designers have an instrumental role to play in this because we are able to consider systems in our practice. We see the bits and things that work together. But we need to federate everyone in order to solve bigger issues. Lawyers, economists, ethnologists, students, politics, well, the ones who actually want to do real things, researchers, thinkers, everyone is welcome, farmers, because everyone can contribute to fill the problem-solving pool. If you need an answer, go ask the right person and bring him or her back with you. And eventually, well, we have to let go. There's so much we can do. Change is not bad nor good, it's just change, and it's part of every cell we're made of. We can't change everything. The best we can do is whatever is left for us to do. We can only hope that elites will collapse first, and because the system they rely on isn't resilient and will beget their fall. It is time for us to create stronger subsystems and communities bonding and help and sharing. There are thousands and thousands of possible futures. It's now up to us to decide how low we want to go. And despite everything, what if all goes wrong? Well, learning about a future collapse is hard, and it's easy to fall into fear or despair. Putting this talk together was really hard on me. I spent a few weeks digging into a ton of quite depressing data. It was a real inner struggle to make sense of it, and I drank an enormous amount of tea. But still, I remain optimistic, for I am convinced that change means opportunity. The message I want to spread out today is positive. Maybe the energetic collapse of our society means that we will eventually listen to nature and stop mistreating it. Maybe we will learn new vital skills. Maybe we'll create new communities or connect differently with other living things. It might be time to clean the world out of the useless and damaging things we have created, to come back to a wiser way of living, driven by different values than the ones of capitalism. Today is an opportunity to think about where we come from and where we want to go. So tomorrow, I want you to give a good hug to your loved ones, because this is going to be crap. I want you to consider the practice of your job daily and decondition it from capitalism and everything you've been taught was good. And I want you to dismantle hairdryer or something and share your findings on a wiki, because it's cool. Thank you very much. So if you want to know more about all the things that I quoted, because I just had 30 minutes, seriously, I can't say everything. There are all the links. You have a homework list to do. You can read all the links, all the conferences, see everything here. It's fascinating, and everything is online already. So, I don't know if anyone has any question other than when the world is going to be crappier than here. Anyway, I'm welcome, and I'll be around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone brave.
Sorry for this very depressing talk, but I'm not happy with this kind of talk. First, because there is some kind of, there is a trick. If you compare the production and link it to the economic growth, you can have an economic growth without any production making any growth. It's a trick. It's an intellectual trick to link the two, because pricing is no more linked to what it's actually produced, but it's a marketing strategy. So you can actually have an economical growth without any production growth and without any more consumption of energy there. And every time I hear the people explaining that the planet will be a crap if we continue the progress, which is innovation and creating more stuff for everyone, I just hearing what's happened like few centuries ago, where people were dying at the age of 30 with their entire life searching for their food and not creating stuff interesting. So I don't think that we will change the world saying to people, tomorrow will be bad. I think we will change the world explaining we can create more stuff, we can enhance your life, we can have a better life with more technology, and not saying if you don't do that, the world will collapse and being crap. Because we don't listen to nature. Because when you say that, listen to nature, what I hear is nature is good for us because it's designed for us. So it's kind of God creationist stuff. I will not waiting for the God creation to damage me because I'm not a good people. We will save the world only with innovation and more production at lower price and lower energy consumption. And for that, we need technology.
All right. Okay, cool. That's a different opinion. How do you then, we can produce value without producing any goods, right? That's what you say.
Exactly.
Yeah. How do you move the people? How do you move people to go to work? How do you move the janitor that will be coming to clean your offices? How do you power your offices? How do you power planes?
Totally agree with
trains,
that. But
cars?
the problem is, if you if you go to the degrowth stuff, you need to have the total cost of ownership of the travel. Let me give you an example. I'm living in the region of Nantes, which have a very big problem of airport, which becoming something interesting, with people explaining you that we pollute if you're going to Moscow in an airplane. The problem is if you're taking the point of taking one man from Nantes to Moscow with a horse in 3 months, you consume way more carbon than if you're using it in just 3 hours in the plane.
I'm not
and
talking
there is
about...
the point. The old point with that is we're thinking about very complex system. And you cannot modelize system and say we will all be doomed. The old solution is to building a technology able to give us the ability to make more heat. For example, creating heat there is less consumption of water or of energy, of anything that it was a few centuries ago. So technology is the only way we can go. When you say stop innovating, I'm just like, okay, then we will do. Because if we're not able to sustain our growth with technology, our ability to create more stuff at less consumption will be actually the problem.
Okay. There was one slide that I just didn't incorporate to the talk because it was too long and I just had 30 minutes. It was just toying with the idea of gas going very high price. Just toying with the idea. And we will see if we can innovate in a world with very heavy energies. If the gas comes to 5, 6, 7, 10 euros a liter, people will not be able to drive. So janitors, how do you call them? Doctors, nurses, people who come to work every day will not be able to do it. Then you will have problems with people taking care of power plants because they can't go to work, they can't move. You can't move trucks, so there's nothing in a supermarket. Today we live in a world where supermarkets have an average of 2 days of stocks, okay? So after 2 days, no more fresh products, no more transformed products after a few weeks. Then you don't have any thing to make bread. Bakeries, restaurants will not be able to have any food to put on there. Wait, just toying with the idea. Then all the trains in France, wait, I'm not done, please, can I talk? So trains in the countryside are powered by diesel. No more local trains. No more people able to move. Then what happens with how do you call them? The gas stations. People will be tempted to just rob the oil. Then you have a political system, and governments will have very big problems to try to keep the population in a very collected mood. So I didn't say we should stop innovate. We should stop smart fridges and things that just are rely on something that will just not be present anymore. You will not be able. We won't have any aluminium in a couple of decades. There will be enough manganese, enough gold, enough silver. We'll not be able to create our components just physically. And I'm not inventing this. So I'm ready to hear that technology will save the world. I'm just doubting that it will be able to. It's just this. And I'm sure that in a political system that will be threatened by the loss of energy and we will have to live scarcely, we will not care about our servers anymore. This is the very dark thing, but just let's think about this. I'm not talking about stopping innovation. We have to innovate for clever things.
Thank you for your talk. So first, sorry to have to call out, but Marie-Cécile was the first person interrupted in the day. She's a woman, sorry. Please refer to my talk this morning. And second of all, I want to back her for one thing, and I understand that this is not a very optimistic discussion to have, but I was reading like a research I need to find back now, because I forgot the title, that was showing that we are going to run out of what we need to create innovation before we can innovate at we can innovate fast enough to solve these issues. So, I mean, it's great to think that technology would save the world, but maybe it will save our world as privileged people. I'm not sure it will save the whole world.
lots of things happening. Makes you think. That's great. That's exactly what I wanted.
Hi, thanks
Hey.
for your talk. If we go in this road, don't you think we should limit population growth then?
It's called Malthusian thinking. So yeah, some people have already thought about this, and they think that we should just stop having kids or just kill some of us. I have no answer to this. I think, in my mind, that population, like your colleague was talking about, the fact that centuries ago people were living until 30 years old and they would just spend their days trying to find food. This is not a zombie movie, but I think that if energy cannot feed us in a supermarket like we do every day, we will have trouble living a long life. So this is what happened in many of the scenarios of certain collapses. You can find the research online. Yes, there is a drastic, anyway, a drop of population, because if you're not fed enough or if you don't have the comfort we are living here right now, you will have just less kids and you will not survive any longer than you do today. And sometimes just a problem in Studio Superflux has been studying this and the possible scenarios that can happen. Let's say there's a disease that we didn't know existed. There you go.
Maybe we should stop working also?
Oh, you should stop doing anything. Everything is worthless. We're all going to die anyway, every single of us. So what's the point? Let's go home and get wankered.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, interesting debate, but unfortunately we can't take any more questions because we're half an hour behind schedule.